Guys, welcome back to the show. In today's video, I want to talk a little bit about Coinbase and Brian Armstrong, because the Coinbase video we did exploded. We got like in that first couple of days, we got like over 1,000 views on it, and it's exploded, which is fine, right? But there's a lot of questions there, there's a lot of hate there and everything, and I wanted to kind of talk about all of this and kind of clear out what's going on. Again, you can see me unscripted. On this particular video, I'm just going to go with the flow and talk about it and see what really happens, right? Because there is a lot of stuff that I want to talk about. I want to point a few bits out, because like I have been pointing out a little bit on I mean, I did point out a little bit on the video. I said, look, there is a conspiracy, and I kind of want to talk about it, but not too much, right? What the hell? What the fuck? What's going on here? What the hell? Hold up.
There is nothing wrong with your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission. If we wish to make it louder, we will bring up the volume. If we wish to make it softer, we will tune it to a whisper. We will control the horizontal. We will control the vertical. We can roll the image, make it flutter. We can change the focus to a soft blur, or sharpen it to crystal clarity. For the next hour, sit quietly and we will control all that you see and hear. We repeat, there is nothing wrong with your television set. You are about to participate in a great adventure. You are about to experience the awe and mystery which reaches from the inner mind to the outer limits.
Get Alan, tell him to come in here quick.
What's wrong?
Look at that dial. That needle has just dropped about 10 points.
What is it?
The power output. We're broadcasting on just about half. Go on, babe. Go get him.
I can't.
What do you mean you can't?
He knows about it.
How could he know about it? It just happened.
He's in the transmitter shed.
Are you telling me he cut down the power? On purpose? Carol, that's against the law. These people pay us to cover an area of 200 miles. We guarantee them over 1 million audience.
All right, he's stealing power.
Stealing power?
Well, he's been doing it for weeks. He steals equipment, too. Transistors, condensers. We've got bills up to here.
We can't let him shut down. Let everything go to pot. Go tell him, Carol. Tell him that if he doesn't boost us back on the air, we're going to have our contracts ripped up by the sponsors.
He won't open the door.
Phone him.
Sorry, I have no idea what just happened there, but yeah, it seems like this entire video was taken over by some video from 1963. I have no idea what the hell is going on, but anyway, I think they had a good point there, right? So if you just heard about the needle dropping and about the fact that the guy knows, right, it kind of makes sense, right? So let's get into this anyway. Don't know what's going to happen. Let's hope we don't get taken over again by whatever this is, but I want to make a few points here, and then you'll probably understand the entire theory behind it, right? So theories are brilliant, right? You know, like I want to go back in time a little bit and into movies, actually. Brilliant movies, brilliant books, right? So there's been a lot of people in the early 20th century, late 19th century, right, where they were writing about these theories, or like, you know, fiction. Let's just call it fiction, right? Time travel, etc, and whatever. And this is all after the fact that, you know, scientists started to talk about certain things, like, you know, theory of electricity, maths, this, that, whatever, loads of different theories, right? So most science is actually based on the theory. I don't know if you know this, right? Until proven otherwise, it can actually become a fact. And, you know, starting off with like all sorts of theories that they have about gravity and, you know, planets and space and whatnot. They evolve over time, but ultimately it's all based on a theory, right? So we can take theories and we can make conspiracy theories out of them, right? Because, you know, there are people out there who believe in one thing and there are people out there who believe in another thing. And so I know it's kind of weird, like me relating this with Coinbase, but let me get into this, right? Coinbase is a great exchange. Everyone knows about Coinbase launching in 2012. They know about the founder. You can even Google him. And yeah, Brian Armstrong is the guy who did it, right? But I think a lot of people don't dive deep into who he really is, right? So is a child. I mean, he grew up in a family where his parents were engineers, right? He went to study in a university or college, whatever you want to call it, and he got a bachelor's and X, Y, Z. So he's a smart man. He's a smart man, right? He actually even worked for IBM, right? So he's a smart man who worked for IBM. And, you know, he got into the ropes of stuff. He got to know people, eventually ended up working for Airbnb. Now, a lot of people don't know this. He actually worked for Airbnb, right? But if we kind of go into this conspiracy theory part, then it will totally make sense to you, right? So sometimes situations take you to a place where you connect, right? And I know a lot of people, you probably already are planning to drop off. It's like, what the hell is this guy talking about? BS, right? Fine, please drop off, right? But if you are prepared to listen to me, then you're going to be interested and you will find out what's really going on here. And this is not for entertainment, right? This is purely educational. Understand this, right? So Coinbase comes along and what did I say? So I have no idea what's going on here, guys. I have no idea what's going on. Anyway, so Coinbase comes along. No, not Coinbase. Brian Armstrong works for Airbnb. Airbnb was part of the Y Combinator, and they actually launched through that as well, right? So they had connections. Now, Brian Armstrong somehow figured out that he needs to also go to Y Combinator, and he was there. He spent some time in Y Combinator. I forgot what they call them, but they're like, you know, a venture capital firm, technically, right? Where they will develop projects and programs and get all the investors and everybody together. And then they'll basically build your product out. So they make all the connections. So they put you in a circle. Sorry, I'm just looking at everywhere because I don't know when this 1963 is going to take over again, right? This whole outer limit thing, I don't know when it's going to take over. But it does have a point, right? Open your mind. So the point is this guy goes ahead and, you know, joins Y Combinator, and he eventually gets funding, gets around $150,000 to build Coinbase, right? So clearly he's got the connections. That's what I'm trying to say here. It's like you're in a room, you meet all these people and all these connections, and there are all these investors and venture capital funds and whatnot involved in there who are ready to develop your product for you, get you all the connections you need, the banking connections, the investment connections, the technology connections, the development connection, you name it. You've got everything. You're sitting in a room with everybody, right? Take your pick, right? So that's what I'm trying to say here. So he's obviously rewarded $150,000. Go ahead, mate, go and build your Coinbase that you want to build, right? So he goes out and he builds it, right? So we have this robust system. Now, of course, he wants to build it based on certain problems he has seen and certain solutions he has, right? So he saw problems in Airbnb during the time he spent in Airbnb regarding payment systems. So he wanted to create a system where it's more like a peer-to-peer, right? So people can buy and sell in a secure manner. That's all he wanted to do. But of course, he discovered Bitcoin at that time as well. So he's interested, he's piqued his interest, like, oh, I want Bitcoin as well, right? So that's all he's trying to do, make a little bit of commission, nothing more. But as I said, he's got people sitting above him or people surrounding him. We don't have to say above him, but surrounding him, who are there from day one. That's the key here. So what you have to understand is, I don't think Coinbase is a bad exchange. And every problem that Coinbase has, I think they already know, right? Coinbase is big enough and has enough influence with investors and ETC and whatnot, right? And so many different other kind of like technology factors and partnerships, right? They have. They actually, if they had this technology issue or situation with their platform, it doesn't take much to fix it. Also, when you're talking about servers, right? So they've kind of publicly mentioned this. Now, you don't publicly go and mention your flaws, right? But when you do publicly mention your flaws, you're doing that for a reason. So I'm one of those, I'm quite philosophical. I see good in bad and I see bad in good, right? And, you know, for me, I try and look the other way and try and understand things in a complete different context, right? I'm not going to just go by what you tell me. I want to see what I understand about it. Does that make sense, right? So you give me a newspaper article and I'm reading it, and then I've understood something, and I'll give it to you and you've understood something, right? But most people end up understanding exactly what's written in there. So they kind of say, that's what's written in there, so that must be it. And I'm like, no, look between the lines, right? There may be something else there, right? Or what does this really mean? So there are other things I would love to talk about, but I don't want to talk about today, like geopolitics, global politics, and global all sorts of other stuff, and even Simpsons and all the predictions that they're doing that may be coming true. But listen, this video is not about this, and I don't want to make this video long, right? Just want to talk about Coinbase so you guys understand a little bit about what's going on, right? So they have these people surrounding them, and obviously they launched this company anyway. He's doing whatever he needs to do, and as I said, if he's got a problem and he identifies the problem, he can solve it. You can get servers who on demand, right? If you need more resources on demand, it will give you more resources, and it doesn't cost you a penny more to set it up. So you have your average usage, and then if you need to increase your usage, it will automatically give you more resources and charge you accordingly, right? So if Coinbase is now busy all of a sudden, making more money, happy days, right? You know, they're going to give it away later on. Then the server just increases its capacity automatically. We're not in the 1960s, right? Or 1963, right? To be precise. Now, and I'm not throwing the numbers there for no reason. But anyway, point is we've got this whole thing. He's got a situation, right? So we know it's a common thing, right? But what I'm trying to say is sometimes, as they said in that outer limits thing, sometimes when the signal drops, or when the price drops, or when the network drops, or when the exchanges have a little bit of a situation, I'm fully sure, like I'm completely 100% sure they know about it, and they know about it because they're causing it, right? They know about it because they're causing it. That's what I believe. And why are they causing it? Remember what I said earlier on, the connections, right? This connections that they have, right? And you know, like for example, Y Combinator. Right? Y Combinator has connections with some of the biggest hedge funds and venture capitals on the planet, right? And think about it like the puppet masters, right? So these puppet masters are selective about who they pick and who they don't pick, right? And where they invest money into. But when they do invest money into, they don't give you all the money and say, right, you're 100% share of this. No, you might be the face of the company. Believe me, you don't own all of it, right? And this kind of brings me back into BlackRock and ETC and whatnot. They're sitting there. Believe me, they're sitting there, right? Remember on my other video, the live stream I did the other day, those of you who watched it actually, I talked about how I used to be a cab driver and I used to do some executive work and VIP work, right? Where I used to drive people around, fancy people around places, hotels, and bring them to the airports and pick them up from the airport. It was all suited and booted stuff, right? I used to do. But what I didn't mention to you is through that venture, I also used to pick up people from the top 10 banks, global banks in the world, executives from the top 10 banks in the world, the top 3 or top 10 accounting firm, but mostly the top 3 accounting firm in the world, top 3 law firms in UK, right? So believe me, I've seen a lot of execs, right? And I'm not going to disclose anything. Obviously, they can come back and sue me right now, but I'm not going to say anything. But what I'm saying is that I've carried these passengers and I've taken them to locations, right? And one of those I can disclose because they do it very frequently. So what they used to do is they used to hire me out from the big banks, right? One of the top 10 banks as a driver to take them to Oxford University, Cambridge University on the campus itself, right? And this used to happen so that they can go there and they can run some sort of a seminar or whatever and kind of hunt, right? So they're hunting talent, basically. They would sit there, invest money, do whatever, have a room hired for themselves, sit there all day long, talk to people and whatnot, do a little speech and whatnot. But they're actually headhunting. They're looking for that brilliant mind. They're trying to invest into that brilliant mind. So they're trying to snatch students, fresh students who are just about to finish their studies, who have performed really well, right, directly from the university into their program. So those of you guys who have finished your studies and everything, whatnot, and you're trying to apply for a job, good luck to you. You're applying amongst 1,000 people, and you might just only maybe a success rate of 10 people getting recruited, right? But the banks or the institutions, I'll say generally, when they want someone, they'll go and selectively pick that one person. I've seen that. I know that happened, right? Because of, as I said, I haven't personally experienced it, but I have seen it, right? And I've seen what happens behind the scenes, right? And as I said, I can probably disclose this much, but other than that, for customer confidentiality, there's a lot of other things that I can't talk about. But anyway, I'm not going to talk about those, right? That's the thing about being a VIP driver, even if you leave the industry, because you have a certain level of what's it called, like security clearance, right? Which I've had. So put it this way, I could, when I was driving and when I had the thing, I had clearance to go into a lot of political areas, a lot of heavily secured areas that I wasn't supposed to. As an individual, I would not be able to, but I had those because of the license I carried and because of the training I had, the certification I had, basically. Anyway, leave that aside, right? But so I've seen all of those kind of things where they would go and recruit. So for me, what I'm thinking is, if Brian Armstrong came up with a great idea in the very same place where Airbnb also came up with a brilliant idea, right? Call it a disruptor, call it whatever, but they came up with a brilliant idea. There are people up there who saw the potential and they will invest in it. And if they do invest in it, they're like the sharks. I'm sure you've watched the show, right? The Dragon's Den or the Shark Tank in USA, right? Both the same thing, where investors want the maximum. They want the most. They don't want to give you money and say, oh, give me 10%. No, they want all of your money. They want everything, and they want you to work for the company. So in this case, that's what's happened, I believe, right? And that means there are people pulling the strings. Brian Armstrong's probably dying inside, right? Because it's probably not what he wants to do. As a person, I think, you know, he's a genuine person, because he has been involved in crypto in many, many ways, where he's done many, many good things for the crypto industry. He's been a voice for the crypto industry, right? So I do respect him. So a lot of people know about CZ because he got a lot of highlight, right? You know, the ex-CEO of Binance. He is the founder of Binance, but he's the ex-CEO of Binance, right? So you got to see a lot of highlight, but Brian Armstrong in the background has also been doing a lot of things with regulations and laws and everything. There was this legal thing that they wanted to do, and it was in the Congress, where they talked about how they want to go in and collect all the data from Coinbase customers, right? And he said no, right? He said no, unless it's absolutely necessary, we will not give you all of those details, because there was this fight going on and he won, right? So he has been doing what he needs to protect it. He didn't just bend over and give it to them. But still then, remember, he has puppet masters. Someone's pulling the strings, right? So there are things he can do and there are things he can't do. There are things he sees he wants to fix, but he can't fix. And I'm not trying to defend him in any way, all right, or anybody, but I'm just being logical here and saying, you got to understand the situation. Because I've had a situation like this before, where I've had a business idea and it was brilliant and I've invested money and I went ahead and I've done it. And then I've had people come to me and they're like, oh, we'll give you XYZ amount of money, like 10 times more than what I've invested. They're like, we'll give you that, but you got to work for me, right? So I become a machine for them and we'll take it to new levels. I know very well that they could take it to the new levels. And it's not a joke. They wouldn't invest 10 times more money if they don't believe they can take it there. And they have the capacity to do. But at that time, I didn't want to bend over. So I was like, no, I'm not going to bend over, right? It's very simple. I'm a man who loves his uniqueness, and I'm a man who likes my independence. I don't want to be controlled by somebody else. But if I did, then today I wouldn't be sitting here making these videos for you. Somebody would be pulling my strings. Does that make sense? There are people out there, actual big CEOs and heads of corporations, right, who'd never come into the media, right? You'll never see them on social media, anything. Why? Because somebody's pulling strings. They're like, you cannot go there. Everybody else can do it. You cannot do that. So please understand all of this thing, right? So Coinbase, the problems they have, they know about it, right? But I believe they're doing it on purpose, because there is a lot of institutional interest, and it's been around for a very long time. In fact, this interest peaked around 2017, right? So originally, prior to 2017, governments, banks, institutions, individuals, whatever, majority of the people were shunning. Well, would say, oh, Bitcoin's crap, Bitcoin's a scam, this is for the dark web, it's for drug dealers and weapons, this, that, whatever. That's what they were saying prior to 2017 bull market, right? But the bull market, okay, obviously I've told you guys before as well, the bull market actually started, the trend started from like middle of 2015. But anyway, so during that particular time, the interest peaked. That's when we saw some big, large investors like ARK Invest and ETC, there's a lot more, right? Galaxy Digital and a few other companies come along and actually started to buy up or announce that they've been buying up. Now, they could be doing it way before. So again, it's a conspiracy. They could be doing it way before, but they haven't said anything. But if they need to buy large quantities of BTC, right, where are they going to go through? Because they don't want to go through the independent means, because they're limited. You can't buy. At that time, there was a limit on how many you can buy. But if you're an institutional investor, you don't have a limit, but you have to prove that, and then you do it. And plus, obviously, there's a lot of privacy involved with that as well, right? So who would facilitate that? And remember, in 2017, Binance didn't exist, right? So what I'm trying to say here is from 2012, when Coinbase was originally formed, and around the similar time, we also had Gemini Exchange, but Gemini Exchange took a different approach. They were focusing more in the New York area, and they had it all registered and regulated through the New York. So they have a lot of institutional clients through there. But Coinbase went global, right? And by being global, Coinbase decided to, what do you call this? Like get a lot more interest. But the institutional part, that's what I'm trying to say here. If they needed large quantities of crypto, and with the privacy and with the security as well, backed by institutions, the only option they had at that time, which had a global presence, was Coinbase. So understand this, Coinbase is not a small fish, right? Coinbase getting listed publicly, right? It's not a small feat. I know a lot of people think about a lot of barriers. None of that. It doesn't matter, right? It had influence. It had connections. That's why it was able to do it, right? Coinbase having the regulations and everything, having banking license in many different countries. Why? Because it has the connections. It has the influence. So all I'm trying to say here is before we start, saying, oh, this person's should go, this company should go, no, there's a reason. We need companies like Coinbase. We actually need companies like Coinbase. We actually need people like Brian Armstrong, right, to still be there, right? But we also need to understand what the reality is. We can't just sit there and start cussing at them, swearing at them, and saying. In fact, today the Coinbase app wouldn't show my balance. I know there's a problem. Why? Shiba Inu's pumping, Akita Inu's pumping. What's the other one? Flocky is pumping. Pepe's pumping, right? And in fact, there's a battle between Pepe and so the holders of Pepe, the whales of Pepe and the whales of Shiba Inu. There's a battle going on. There are whales who are dumping Pepe and pumping it into Shiba. Same is happening with the Shiba community where someone's dumping the Shiba, pumping it into Pepe, and there's a massive battle going on. It's a meme coin battle. But is it going to last forever? No, right? Whales don't put $1 million into a meme coin unless they intend to make money out of it. And then when they do make the money, they're going to snipe it out. So whatever pumps you're seeing, they're not going to last forever, right? So again, we have to understand in a particular way that, guys, the perspective matters. And I've talked about perspective a lot of the time. Perspective matters. The narratives matters, right? How you think, right? How you perceive the market, how you perceive the entire system matters, right? What you see may be not what's really happening, right? And I like to always step back and say, right, hold on, let me be logical. I'm not going to go and say, right, this guy, I'm going to shoot him down because this guy's bad or this guy's bad. No, nobody needs to be bad. I don't think humans have the capacity to be bad. Maybe there's one or two people who are born evil, right? They're the freaking son of the devil, right? Those people naturally from day one, right? When they first start to kind of crawl, they're already doing evil stuff. That's like probably 1 in a trillion, right? Or 1 in 8 billion, let's just say that way. But the point is most people don't have that capacity. Most people are actually genuine. I talked about this as well. I said, most people who open crypto projects, right, who start up crypto projects and this and that, genuinely want to do it in a good way, right? But there are other people who are dodgy, right? But sadly, they become scams or rug pulls and whatnot because they haven't succeeded. Yes, there are those few that's all they do, right? So you want to be cautious about them. But there are actual legit projects who have done the full KYC, full marketing, full everything, got the investment, got everything, and they got rugged, right? They just couldn't succeed because the narrative changed, everything changed, the ecosystem changed, and they had to get out. Do you know what I mean? So for those of you guys, again, I'm coming back to this, right? Listen, the way we think really matters. What we think about it also matters, because if you think in a particular way, your emotions will be affected. And ultimately, we think with emotion, right? So whatever's coming into our mind literally comes from inside us. If we can control that, then we control the narrative, right? It doesn't matter if it's a plus or a negative. It doesn't matter if Coinbase goes down today. It doesn't matter because you've already thought about, okay, these are probabilities. These are the likelihood of something happening. I understand that there could be manipulation. Institutions and other investors want to buy. There may be a big giant institution that wants to buy 10,000 BTC. Will buy. In fact, talking about 10,000 BTC, I think it was last week, I believe it was, Was it last week? No, it was, yeah, it was last week. There was a particular day we mined, so Bitcoin miners mined 900 Bitcoins in that one single day, right? And total exchange holding, right? So when you go and look on the exchange holding, it was about 2,000 BTC. Listen to me carefully. 900 BTC was mined in that day. That means we have a surplus of 900 BTCs coming to the market, brand new coins. We had 2,000 already inside the exchanges available where people want to sell. But somehow, big institutions, including BlackRock, right, and a whole combination of them, bought 10,000 Bitcoin. 10,000 Bitcoin. Think about that. 10,000 Bitcoin, right? So do you see what I'm trying to say? Now, happened similar to that time. I wouldn't be surprised if Coinbase was involved, right? I wouldn't be surprised if Binance is involved. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some unknown entity or unknown company that we have never heard of who's been doing it in the shadows. We don't know. But they bought 10,000 on OTC. Think about that. Think about that, right? So there are, as I said, there's a lot more. There's geopolitics, global politics. There's a whole bunch of other macro factors that are involved as well, right? If I go deep down the rabbit hole, I'll be here for like 3-4 hours. And I've said that many times. I said, guys, don't take me down this rabbit hole, because when I do, you're going to be stuck here. You're not going to understand anything, because it is mind-boggling, right? How everything works. When you look at it, it's like a freaking spider's web, right? But it's not a spider's web. It's like a spider's web with 1,000 spiders web inside it. You really don't know where that connection originally started. You don't know where the endpoints are, right? And you'd be right in the middle of it. It is so bad, right? And as I said, like, for example, you got to connect the dots. He works for IBM. He works for Airbnb. Airbnb had the Y Combinator. He also joins Y Combinator, and his company launches through that. Think of the connections. Look at the links, right? It's crazy. And then look who's invested into Y Combinator. Look who's sitting there headhunting companies in Y Combinator. They want to be right there in the forefront. The VC, venture capital, these guys, they don't want your stocks or shares or bonds or whatever you're selling, you know, for some stupid money that, according to them, even if it's a penny, they don't want it for that. They want it for next to nothing, because they want to make the maximum gain. They want to make 100x, 200x, 300x. That's what they want to do. And some of these guys have made multi-million, if not billions, from this, right? Coinbase is currently worth about $8-9 billion. None of that matters, right? MicroStrategy a couple of years ago was only worth $900 million. Then it was worth $9 billion. And right now it's coming to $50 billion. Do you know what happens when a company goes to $50 billion? MicroStrategy, a company who doesn't sell BTC, who actually sold his stocks or borrowed against his shares to buy BTC, right? His company is now worth about 50 billion because people are buying shares in his company. Billion. If he becomes $50 billion, he gets listed on the S&P 500, the largest tech stock on the planet, the index fund of index funds, right? Means all you have to do is buy S&P 500. You've already invested in MicroStrategy. Think about that, right? Think about how much money he's going to make out of that. So you see what I mean, right? Now, there's a lot more, guys. You got to go deep. Just whenever you see something, take a step back, take a breath, see what the market is, and then see how things work. But other than that, I hope the video is informative. Yes, that little early part that you saw, I did pre-record that just for this freaking video, but it's a message, all right? It has a message inside there. That's one of the reasons why I blurred it. So I said, listen, I want you to listen to that part. But other than that, I'm not going to say anything else. There's another message. If you have watched me to the end of this video, I want you to listen to the next message, which is going to be at the end. Rather than that, like, share, subscribe, and let me catch you guys on another one. And let me know in the comments what you think about it and how you feel, and what do you think about, do you agree or do you disagree with what I just said here? You know, and I know I didn't put it in details, guys. I'm not putting slideshows out there. I'm not doing everything. I'm not putting fancy images. I'm not putting a green screen behind me. But if you do respect what I just said there, if you do understand what I've just said there, I would appreciate a little comment in, below. And other than that, let me catch you on another one, but listen to the message. Thank you.
What are you going to do?
Reduce the microwave intensity. Reduce mass.
You'll disintegrate.
There is no death for me.
What will happen?
Unknown.
Unknown.
End of transmission.
The planet Earth is a speck of dust, remote and alone in the void. There are powers in the universe inscrutable and profound. Fear cannot save us. Rage cannot help us. We must see the stranger in a new light, the light of understanding. And to achieve this, we must begin to understand ourselves and each other. We now return control of your television set to you until next week at this same time, when the control voice will take you to the outer limits.